Yes. 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 So. Yes. So. Yes. 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 So. Yes. So.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, sports fans across the world. I'm glad to be here and have you tune in this afternoon to, I would say, another great conversation with MossBurgh of Level Up Sports. And I want to first thank WTP Sports Dudes giving me the time to be able to do what I do and what we do as a group with this podcast and being able to bring so many different things. And a part of what I do is talk to so many people throughout the city, states, and even networking on different platforms. And today I have another conversation with MossBurgh with a lady by the name of Jasmyne Holliday, who is one of our own hometown. A lot of people have no idea whom Jasmyne Holliday may be, but I had the pleasure of being at work and came across meeting Jasmyne as you see on the screen. Good afternoon, Jasmyne. How are you doing today?
Good afternoon. I'm doing well. How are you? Thank you for having me today.
I appreciate you for joining me, and it is a great pleasure to have you as well. And as I was saying, meeting you at work, I was cooking and serving, not having a clue that I would run into a track star and be able to have a conversation with you with MossBurgh of Level Up Sports myself. So we are here to have quite a discussion, and she's a former track star who grew up right here in Columbus, Ohio. And if you could talk to the people and tell them a little bit about yourself, Miss Holiday.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for tuning in today. Like Moss said, my name is Jasmyne Holliday. I grew up in Columbus, Ohio, right here in the Worthington area. I am 25 years young. Was going to say old, but always 25 years young. I went to Thomas Worthington. I originally grew up in private schools, transferred over my sophomore year, graduated from Thomas in 2018, went on to Columbus State, went on to do my bachelor's at Cal Lutheran, and now currently I am a master's student at Point Loma Nazarene University. So that was just a quick little rundown.
Yes, and we've had quite a few talks over the past months, and especially over the last week. And one thing that I noticed is with this second conversation with a former athlete, I had one before. The exercise science is something that you major in. That's what you're doing. Could you tell the people a little bit about that? That seems to be something that's very important to athletes. I'm not going to say I haven't had the time to talk to many gentlemen on that side, but I know the women seem to be in that exercise science field as well. And tell us a little bit about that, if you could.
Yeah, so I originally started out, I thought I wanted to be a nurse. A lot of my aunties are nurses, and I thought that was the path that I needed to go down, follow in their footsteps. I started out taking all of my nursing classes, and I got to it and I was like, I don't think this is for me. I've always had a passion for health, for wellness, for being your best self. And I thought I could do that with nursing. And when I found out I couldn't, I was like, man, what else is out there that I'm able to dive into this world and be a part of? And I found exercise science. Once I, dove into that, I just fell in love with the fitness aspect. I fell in love that people are out here wanting to better themselves. And it's a great community to be a part of. And I've just found a home in the exercise science
Yes.
world. And I've just kind of took that and literally ran with it.
Yeah, it's a great thing. And I know you mentioned about the family, trying to stick into what the family do. Tell me, what was it like growing up in Columbus for you from a
Growing
young
up in, yeah, yeah. Um, I had a great support system growing up. Uh, played sports ever since I was a young girl. I did, oh my gosh, ballet, karate, soccer. My main sport was gymnastics. I was born and raised a gymnast growing up ever since I was probably 5 or 6 years old up until I was about 10 or 11. Um, and growing up in Columbus was a very unique one. It's a small, big city, if that makes sense.
Yes.
Everyone is here to help everyone else. I grew up and my dad was incarcerated from the time that I was about 6 to 10 years old. So my mom and grandma raised me, and wow, they did, excuse me, a hell of a job.
No, you're good. I commend that. They did a hell of a job. I applaud
Thank
them as
you.
well, mom and grandma. That's not tough at a young age and to go through something like that. So I
Yeah.
applaud them as well.
So just to have that support system, and I think the one thing that makes Columbus so special is, yes, it's so small, but the community that we have here is so large.
Yes.
I never once felt like I couldn't do something alone. Even though personally I felt sometimes alone, I was never alone. And I think that's something really important to make note of. Um, with Columbus, though, I always felt like there was something greater out there for me. I always felt like I was called to do something else and be outside of Columbus. So although I had a great start here, I always felt called to, I think there's more for me out there. I think I need to travel. I think I need to see new places. So Columbus was a great start, but it's not my finish line.
Yeah. And it kind of runs right into that next question. What were some of your dreams at a young age in a big city? And like you say, it's a big, small city,
Yeah.
that community aspect that you have, I think throughout Ohio is something that a lot of people really don't take hold of. And I think that in this time and age of everything that's going on as well, I think it's the best chance to step out and see a different part of the city that you haven't seen, to see that aspect of the togetherness, which I've been able to do that myself in the past few years. And like I said, it's brought me to almost every conversation that I've been able to have. But if you could, tell us about the dreams that you had and, at a young age in this big city, if you could.
Oh my gosh, my dreams. It's really funny actually. I would always tell my mom, I don't want to be normal, mom. I don't want to be like everybody else. I want to do something different.
Yeah.
My dream has always just been to help people. And I know other people are like, oh, I dream to be a millionaire, or I dream to see
Yeah.
every country in the world. My ultimate dream in life, my big dream bubble would just be to give back and to help. And whatever job I can do, exercise science, personal training, being a biomechanist, anything that I can do to get to that position to where I can help others in my community is what I want to do. Growing up and, you know, I was a child that had a parent incarcerated, and I know there's a program called like the Angels or something. To be able to help children that have incarcerated parents is something I'm really passionate about. To be able to help people that are on the streets dealing with homelessness, substance abuse, um, anything that is an adversity in their life, I want to be someone that they can come to as a helping hand. So that has
Yes.
always been my driving force and my big dream for life.
Oh man, it's something that you say that, because, for me that's, you grow up and you always have dreams, of course, but when you get to a point and you understand things, you look to that next part of your dream that can unfold. And for me, it's the same thing, and giving back and, having this platform, being able to interview different people. I think that's my way of being able to give back. I've noticed the way of being able to reach out to people, talk to people, and just, as we met, bring people in and interview and talk to people on a different level. And you don't know what, you know, you could be, or those type of doings, unless you step out into, like you said, the big city that we have, but which is so small that has community involvement everywhere. You just have to, step in and be fearless. So
Yeah, absolutely. And I completely agree with that. I think one of the issues today is people are so scared to talk to people.
yeah,
We're so used to being on our phones or just communicating through social media, having those one-on-one interactions are very rare nowadays. And I
yes,
think the one thing a lot of people lack is that networking, is that getting to know, oh, I know this person that knows this person. Oh, you're looking for a job? Hold on, I know a person that knows a person that can get you a job. And it's
yes,
just like, when I came to your work and we had that conversation. That's all it needed. It was just, hey, I kind of heard you were talking about something that I'm interested in. What do you do? I would love to be a part of that. And I think
yes,
that is one of the biggest things that anybody can do is just find a neighbor, find a friend, find a community, and build each other up, because that's the only way we're all going to make it.
yes. I totally agree. And, to jump back into the years of your track, not that you only played track. I heard you were a volleyball player over at Thomas Worthington High School as well.
I was going to play volleyball at Thomas Worthington. I actually started my volleyball career a little bit earlier. I think I started around 12 or 13 years old.
Wow.
Played for my middle school, and then I played freshman year at St. Francis de Sales, and
Okay.
then I played club volleyball at Buckeye Volleyball Club. So
Gotcha.
that took me up into my high school years.
So now, as we are talking about the volleyball, and then of course the track star that you are, what was one of the things that brought you to want to run? Because I know you mentioned how great that you wanted to be, the gym, into gymnastics, and how much you love doing that. But all of those tiptoes and spins brought you into this great runner that you are, and the story that you have to tell with this track, I'm sure the world would love to hear. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so it all started. I actually ran JV or varsity track and field at St. Francis de Sales my freshman year. And I also played volleyball at the time. I transferred to Thomas Worthington my sophomore year, and I ended up not playing any sports. I really wanted to focus on my academics. I was also ineligible because I transferred schools within a certain distance of each other. So that also played a factor. Once I graduated from Thomas Worthington, I went to Columbus State, and what kind of started this whole journey was I wanted to go into the United States Army, and I wanted to be it's called a 68 whiskey. It's a combat medic. Went through MEPS, went through my physical, all of that, passed all of that. And I had a ship out date for August 20th of 2019. When I was training in the summer to get myself physically prepared for that endeavor, I ended up having a severe stress fracture in my femoral head. I was not able to be shipped out for the military for obvious reasons. So I took the next 3 months. I was on crutches. I did physical therapy for another 8 months after that. At this time, it's height of COVID. We're in 2020, and I'm like, wow, what do I want to do with my life? I thought this next step was the military. I thought I was going to get my school paid for. I thought I was going to have, a career out of that. Thought I was going to be a
Yeah.
medic. And my whole life did a 360 with, this injury. And I really just had to think to myself, God has other plans for me. This isn't it. I'm not at the dead end of the road. So I did my research, and I was like, okay, I'm really interested in that fitness aspect. I'm really interested in exercise science. Let me see what schools are out there
Yeah.
that, I can look into. And I've always had a calling for California. Something back in my head, ever since I was younger, I was like, wow, California would be so cool. Like, I'd love to just be out there. It's like, in a sense, your soul just feels called to someplace. Like, maybe this is my next step.
Yeah.
And I took the leap, and I applied to California Lutheran University. And it was supposed to be for a fall semester of 2021. And I get a call from them, and they're like, hey, I know it's COVID. I know we're online right now, but we have space for you and we'd love to take you in January of 2021.
Wow.
And it was October of 2020. I get this call and I tell my mom and I'm like, hey, I don't know how this is going to happen, but we have to make it happen. I know
Yeah.
this is where I need to go. And, she pulled a few strings and does what moms do and, made it happen for me.
Yeah.
And moved out there in January of 2021, did my first semester out there, came home, lived a little bit of life in Ohio, and then went back. It wasn't until 2022, a little bit before, so probably about December of 2021,
Mhm.
I sat down with my mom and I was like, I, I think I want to run track. I am going to a D3 school. I'm not required to try out. I'm not required to, be picked for the team. I can just show up and be a part of something greater than myself. So I went to go sit down with the head track and field coach at the time. And I was like, hey, I'm interested. What do I have to do to be on the team? And he was like, you just show up, be your best self, and you can be a part of this. And I was like, I would love to. So went out there, started practicing with them. I had my first collegiate track and field season in 2022. I was a 100, 200. I did a 4x1. I think I was a part of a 4x4, did a little bit of high jump here and there.
Yeah.
And after that, I was like, I think this is where I'm meant to be. Went into my senior season, ended up being one of the only female sprinters that we had on the team, ran one of my fastest times in my collegiate career.
Yeah.
And I really look back and I'm like, I'm so glad I took advantage of the skill that I have and the opportunity that I have. And I was like, now at 25 years old, it's very difficult to go walk on to any collegiate
Yeah.
team. So back when I'm 21, 22, and I still have that opportunity, I just wanted to take it and I wanted to run with it. So I did.
Yeah. I totally agree. And when you mentioned showing up, that shows, and that's a testimony to what happens when you show up. Showing up brought you to not only a runner for Cal Lutheran, a great runner, and your record still sits on charts at Cal in the top of that 100 meter. And that's a fast race. And I believe it was at 12:48,
12:44.
12:44. Yes,
Yeah.
ma'am. And that's great speed. That's top notch speed to me for women. I had looked up so many different articles on that speed and said that's pretty fast. That's like a male athlete in its prime running 100 meters. So that's great speed. And shout out to you on what you do. And I know you mentioned mom, the sacrifices mom made. Give me a little talk about family life. I know that's something that you value. Family life, track being a value part of the life, and a little more about that.
Yeah. So, like I mentioned, my mom was really my sole caretaker growing up. I remember being, 6, 7 years old. Mom is working 2 jobs. She's also going to school full time and taking care of me. So I've always had her as like my driving force. It's always been my motivation. And even though I'm doing things for me, I'm also doing things for her. And she had to sacrifice a lot for me to get to where I'm at and to be able to do a lot of the things that I was able to do. So I'll do anything for my mom. And I think I'd hope any parent would do that for their kid. You really do lay your life down so they can live theirs. And I will be eternally grateful for her just to see the sacrifices that she made, growing up. She couldn't go out and hang out with friends because you're working that second job. There are some nights where we're eating noodles 2 or 3 nights in a row because,
Yeah.
we got to save some money for something else. So just to see those sacrifices, I knew when I did something, I wanted to give it my all because that's all she's ever done for me is give it her all. So I wanted to have that same respect.
Yeah, I agree. And I think, growing up in Columbus, Ohio, man, if you don't have noodles and you're an athlete or anything like that. I don't know if you from Columbus, Ohio.
Literally.
Man, those noodles is like a big thing here, and them definitely get you through some sleepless nights and get you taken care of when it comes to meals. And shout out to mom again for what she's done, and I know she's so proud of you and the journey that you have taken on and still are on as life continues. So one thing I know, for me when I was playing sports, we didn't have no nil. We wasn't getting paid to play sports. What's your thoughts on nil? Give me your thoughts if you could.
So running Division 3 track and field, it's hard for you to get that name, image, likeness contract just because you are at a D3 school. I mean, you're not getting a scholarship to run or anything like that or to play any athletics. I was fortunate enough that I actually got a partnership with Liquid IV. So they would send out packages for me and my team whenever we had meets. But I think NIL is a great thing if it's used correctly. There's a lot of students that will go to these big D1 schools, and yes, you have the talent, which is great, but you're not there for the right reasons. You're there just to get a paycheck, and I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but you're in it for the wrong reason. Your reasoning needs to be, I have a passion for this sport. I want to be a part of something greater and bigger than myself. Not I'm walking in here, yeah, I'm the best athlete and I can do this and I make so much money. That's not what it's about. And people are going to see right through that. So I love that NIL is a great thing, especially for people that have grown up, a little bit tougher of life, might not have had that same support. They can finally take that NIL and, support their family the way that they need to. So I think there's good and there's bad, just depending on how people look at it and how the athlete perceives it.
Yeah, I like both of your takes on that. That's something that we talk about a lot with some just, taking a big head and then others actually, it being a way that you can, break general curses for your family and be that person with the humbleness to, lead things in a different way. And I applaud it for those that's being humble and doing the right things, and that we could get a better track for others that, may be a little disgruntled at times and don't understand the full meaning of it. So
Exactly. And I feel like the people that are deserving of it are people that aren't even thinking about NIL. That is a second complete thought. And if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. And I think those are the people that are most deserving because you're not in it for the money.
yeah. And when we mentioned track, I know you had sent me photos of just the preparation and the work ethic. And when you mentioned, just some minutes ago about showing up, I just think about that, showing up and seeing those pictures of your work ethic and becoming this runner and, seeing that race that you had. And was it the Leo? Was it the Leopard? Which one was it?
I think so. I think that's the one. The
Um,
Leo something invitational. Yeah.
Invitational. When you had that race, I watched that race probably 100 times. I've watched that video over and over. That's a photo finish. And tell me the preparation. Tell me the moments before that race. Could you go back into just thinking about everything, preparing for it, and knowing what you went through to get there, and just
Yeah.
showing up?
Yeah, so I was still dealing with my hip injury while I was running collegiate track. There would be some meets I would wrap my hip and my waist up just to keep it stabilized. And bless my coaches, they would tailor practices for me. There's some, I'd show up to practice and I'm like, hey, I can't do it today, but I'm still here. I'm still showing up. And that's part of the preparation. It's the mental aspect of it, which I think is one of the biggest things. You mentally have to be ready for anything. In preparation for that race, one of the biggest things that I was struggling with was my lean across the finish line. And my coach was like, you have a good start. Your dry phase is really nice. You're keeping your head down and you're pumping hard. middle phase looks really great, but that ending phase is kind of like we're falling off a little bit towards the end. Finish all the way through the finish line. And, I've taken that with anything in my life, always finish all the way through. And, when I got on that track for that race, I got into my blocks and I always just take a deep breath. And right before I run my race, everything that runs through my mind is what I'm thankful for. Thank you, God, that I have the ability to get into blocks. Thank you, God, that I have the ability to run collegiate track, that I can do it in front of, my friends and family. Even if they're watching on a video, they can still watch it. And when I'm in that race, I'm not just running for myself. I'm running for my coaches. I'm running for my family. I'm running for everybody that has got me to this position. And in that race, I knew I was running against some tough girls, and I knew they were fast. And, being neck and neck and from peripheral view, I can see I have people on both sides of me that I'm running with.
Yeah.
And it's at the end of the day, who wants it more? And I wanted it more. And I just pushed myself. And, coming across the line, I'm like, man, definitely got like third or fourth. I'm not thinking I got first place. I'm running with some dogs over here.
Yeah.
And, I come off the track and my coach just automatically just picks me up and gives me the biggest hug. And he was like, you broke top 10. And I'm like, I get goosebumps. And I'm like, what do you mean I broke top 10? And I turn and I look at the scoreboard and my name is right at the top of the list. And the two girls under me had the same time. And we were like, there's no way. Like, how is this? And it came down to a thousandth of a second. And that was the closest race that I've ever had. And the fact that it just took that lean right across the finish line, just pushing myself just that extra little bit, just knowing that I am capable of this is what truly got me there. And I mean, wow, I was doing practices Monday, Tuesday, I think Thursday, Friday, Saturday, had weightlifting Tuesday and Thursday. And it truly is what you put into those practices and what you put into those weightlifting sessions that are going to transpire when you step out into any meet, any competition, anything like that. So when you go to practice, you don't just half-ass it, excuse my language, but
18 and over, you're okay.
You don't just slack off. It's not here to just goof around. Like, if you want to be the greatest starts in practice. Yeah. And, there were some people that would come and just think it's a free for all. And I don't want to do this and I don't want to do that. And you wonder why you're not placing when we go to tournaments, when we go to meets, because you're not putting in that work at practice. And it's also not just at practice, but outside of competitions, outside of tournaments. It's what you do when other people aren't watching. Are you eating healthy? Are you going to the trainers after you're done with practice and getting the treatment that you need? If you need ice, go get ice. So everything that you do in your life has to be for a betterment for that end goal that you want. So taking it, going to practice at 110% every single day. I don't want to go to the trainers, but I'm going to go to the trainers and get the treatment that I need. Yeah. Turning in your homework. That was another big thing about being a student athlete. If you want to be a part of this team, you have to make sure your grades are up. Yeah. And that was one of the biggest things that I've always kept in the back of my head is you are a student before you are an athlete. It literally says in the name, student athlete.
Thank you for saying that.
Yeah.
Well, I don't mean to interrupt you, but
no, go ahead.
Big on the student athlete aspect.
Yeah.
I think the way you said it is just go hand in hand. You have to be a student first,
Absolutely.
Because you could be the greatest athlete in the world. You can have tip-top speed. You can have the best jump shot, the best ability to do whatever, but you have to be a student first.
Absolutely.
Before you crack that athlete aspect. So I just had to mention that. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. It really does play a part. I mean, if you're not making grades, you're not playing. Point blank, period. And if you want to take your athletics to the next level, I guarantee you they're going to look at your grades first because it tells it tells them, are you disciplined? Are you able to multitask? Are you able to accomplish goals? Are you able to show up for yourself? And I think that was the biggest thing. You know, if a coach or a recruiter is looking at you and you're a 5-star athlete, but you know, they go look at that report card and you're D average, C average,
Yeah.
we're okay. We're okay. We'll take that A, B average student. They might not be the best on the field, but we know they're going to show up every single day and give their 100%.
Yeah. Now, you know, when it comes to, and this has been such a great interview and just a great journey, and I thank you again for being able to take the time out. Is there anyone, you know, along this journey? I know you've talked about mom, Grams, anyone along this journey that, you know, coaches, anyone you think about that you want to take the time out just to say, hey, I thank you for wrapping my hamstring, or telling me to go lift this weight for 10 minutes, or telling me to run around the track. Anyone you want to take the time out to thank at all during this time?
Well, if we were to sit here and thank everybody, we might be here for a few hours. But I really just want to thank all of my friends and family, and they all know who they are, but for always believing in me and giving me the patience. You know, I was never someone that did something right away. I was kind of hard-headed.
Yeah.
And so just all of those people that stopped and had a conversation with me, that talked to me, that gave me an opportunity, to my coaches that were patient with me when I was dealing with an injury and still let me go out there and compete, to all of my athletic trainers. You know, I was a little bit difficult coming in always with a hip injury. So for them to take the time out, wrap my hip, do stem, all of that, do ice baths. My boyfriend is a big part of my journey. He's one of the first ones that really held my hand, starting my track and field career at Cal Lutheran. Like I said, my mom, someone that I always ran for in the back of my head was my brother. He unfortunately was murdered in 2018 here in Columbus, Ohio. And when I first started running track, I wrote 12.44, and this was my junior year, wrote that on my track spikes. And that ended up being my fastest time that I ever ran for my collegiate career. And what makes that so special is it was my last meet. I ran at Azusa Pacific University, and it was actually my graduation day. So I had my mom, my dad, my grandma, my grandpa, my brother's mom was there. I had my mom's best friend, her other best friend was there, and all of those people were in the stands to watch me run my last meet. And for a lot of them, you know, they live here in Ohio and I'm out in California. That was their first and last time watching me ever run. So the fact that I ran my fastest time, and it was something that the time that I ran was dedicated to my brother, it truly was a full circle moment that, yeah, everybody that has been here for me really made this dream come true, and we just closed it all out together and ended it together on what couldn't have been a more perfect day.
Better.
So
Yeah, totally.
just a big thanks to everyone that was a part of my journey. I honestly, from the bottom of my heart, cannot say thank you enough.
I appreciate you taking the time. I just appreciate you taking the time. Sorry about that. I get kind of.
Oh, you're okay. Yeah. It's definitely not easy. Yeah. And it was something I dealt with still am dealing with. That was my best friend, and you know, he was 11 years older than me. And I still, to this day, it is an unsolved case, and it is still something to this day that I hold very dear and near to my heart. It is something that I will never know why it had to happen. And unfortunately, here in Columbus, it has become a norm for people to experience and go through this pain and that trauma. But it's up to us, and it's up to the next person to lead a better life, to step with a better foot, and treat people with the utmost respect and kindness, because you never know what somebody is going through at all. And the one thing that I have taken from my brother's passing is I have to be a better person. I have to lead a life of goodness, of kindness, because there's so many people out there that are living life with hatred in their hearts, that think that, going out and taking somebody else's life is the right thing to do, when it's not. There is so much more to life than going out and being in the streets, or, you know, going against what your parents are saying, and doing all of that. It's just, if anybody can take this and can resonate with this, like, just know you're going to be okay. Just know that there is more life for you, and that whatever person was taken from you is always riding with you, is always there to watch over you, and it's going to be okay.
Yeah, I greatly appreciate that. And yeah, sometimes I still get a little tied up with things. I had a nephew murdered as well. And, for me, that's full circle what really brought me to what I do at Level Up Sports 10. Um, it's a vision that I didn't know was being created years ago. And that's some things we don't realize. Visions can be created amongst times and we have no idea. And as you grow, you put those visions together. And, after everything happened, the angel that came to me was him, as they say, happened in those first 8 days. I never knew about it until I was told that. And, during that time, the vision came to me as he was my angel sitting there next to me throughout the night. And he told me to do what I'm doing now. So, things happen. Phone call came because I couldn't play basketball after dealing with a torn meniscus. And I was sitting down. My uncle called me, and Level Up Sports 10 started. So I'm just glad that you were able to share that piece of the story. And that's just so special. And like you said, just a full circle moment. Everyone being there, the support system, record time still stands on the wall of Cal Lutheran to this day. And it's just special to be able to have the conversations you have with people, because you don't know things that you have alike as others. That's something that we could sit and, have different talks with each other about, and growing in different ways. And that's another thing, like you said, unless you open up and communicate with people, you don't know things. So
yeah. And I think one thing a lot of people fail to realize is we are a lot more similar than we are not alike.
yes,
We share a lot of things in common, and all it takes is having that conversation, and you never know what it could be about.
Yeah.
And that small little conversation could change someone's life. It could change your life. It could, if you feel like you're stuck in a rut and you just feel called to, what, hey, you know what, you look really nice today. Or, hey, I saw you walking and you have a great smile. That could change their entire outlook on life. And it's just like, with this podcast, like, you got that call, and this is a step, like, this is something I can do. I can do this. And all it takes is that someone believing in you, and just that one word, let's do it. And it can happen.
Yes.
And that's with anything in life.
Man, great. I mean, you couldn't have said it any better way than that. And if no one's tuning in, please do. But for those that are, I appreciate you tuning in today. Post game, we have official Doe in the chat as well. Anyone else that's tuned in today, greatly appreciate you as well. Is there anything that you want to say to any young lady, any lady in college, even someone that's even older than you that's in college? Anything you want to say to anyone out there across the world, lady, male, anyone?
Yeah, specifically for my ladies out there, I know when I was in high school, my mind just, really wasn't in the right spot. I was doing things I probably shouldn't have been doing 16, 17, 18 years old, and pretty dangerous things that could have led me to not being here today. And I just want anybody listening to realize that if you aren't comfortable, or you don't want to do something that you don't want to do, don't feel like you have to. If your friend is doing something out there that in the back of your head, you're like, I don't think this is something I want to do. Don't. And it's really crazy because there's a lot of people I went to, grade school, high school with that I don't talk to anymore. And it's because we are not on the same path. I realized that the path that I was on was a lot greater than being out in the streets, than, doing things that I wasn't supposed to be doing. If you feel like your purpose is greater than where you are at right now, trust that intuition and really invest in yourself. You are the only one that can do it. You are the only one that can pull yourself out and get you to where you want to be. And it's like, if I look back to myself at 18 years old, I would have never thought that I would have gone to California, live out in California, run collegiate track for 2 years, be in a master's program, following my dreams of something that I want to do. And it truly comes down to the work that you put in to get you to where you want to be. So if I could have any or give any advice to any young person out there, or if I can even talk to my young version of myself, just believe in yourself. Know that you are capable and that your words are powerful. Networking is powerful. Gaining a community around you is powerful. I always thought, I can do this by myself. I don't need anybody else. And man, that couldn't be further from the truth. If I didn't have the people around me, the community, I don't know what I would be doing, So give your all. If you have a dream, and I know this sounds so cliche because everybody says it, but if you have a dream, just follow it. Open those doors for yourself that will allow that dream to come in. If you're out doing things that aren't the best, you're not following the law, those doors are closed. If someone comes to knock on that door and says, hey, I have an opportunity for you, but you're out here doing A and B, that door is going to close. You're not going to be able to walk through and experience that. So being able to get good grades, show up to practice every single day, you're allowing those doors to be open for you to walk through when that opportunity presents itself. So always making sure that you're ready to go, that you're the best version of you so you can be prepared for those opportunities would be the biggest pieces of advice that I could give. And even me just now, looking for my big adult job in life, I have to make sure that my doors are open for that opportunity to come through. I have to make sure I have my degree. I have to make sure that my health and wellness is ready to go. If someone were to offer me a job, am I ready to accept? Am I in a position to take on that responsibility? And one thing that someone told me back when I was in high school, going into college, that really stuck with me was, if someone came up to you right now and gave you a BMW, are you in a position to go and get maintenance on it, or are you just going to let it go down into the ground? If I put myself in a position to be responsible, to make money, and someone gifts me that Mercedes, I can take care of it. I'm ready for that gift. I'm ready for that opportunity because I prepared myself for it.
Yes.
So that's one of the biggest pieces of advice that I could give to anybody is just, if you can do good, because it's the only thing it's going to do is really bump you up 5-10 steps. And it's going to want to make other people ask you, hey, how did you do this? How did you get here? And you never know who you can inspire with your words. You never know what journey you've been on that can inspire someone else to go on their journey. So
Totally. I mean, you said it correctly. The analysis and the way you just said about the car, I really myself haven't thought of that. The car is something that I've been wanting, I've been dreaming of having. And yeah, if I was gifted a car, I actually could keep that maintenance up and everything because I've prepared myself properly for those type of things. And you totally make sense. And I agree with everything you said. So, wow, that's just going to give me something to think about and work even harder. So if that gift do come in, guess what? I'll be going to the maintenance shop right away. But
prepared, yeah.
Yes, definitely. For me, I just want to thank you again for taking the time out today to join me for this conversation with MossBurgh this afternoon, and to be able to indulge into your upbringing, your story, um, even talk about your brother. And don't want to mention it more, but me and you already know how that is with that.
Yeah.
And just letting the people know a little bit about you and moving forward in ways to better their life. And I hope someone is watching that can take any and every piece or just a little portion of what was said by Jasmine today and add it to your life. It could be just a little bit of sugar that you need in your tea or your coffee to make things right. So for me, I definitely am taking that card note and I'm gonna put that into my life. And if I'm asked to go to work today, I'm gonna take that offer because that's only the proper preparation for things. And outside of that, again, I'm thankful and blessed to have had you today on the show for another conversation with MossBurgh for the last time. Is there any other words that you would like to say to anyone?
I just want to say thank you to you. Thank you for having me on here and being open when, I came into your place of work and just having that conversation with me and asking those questions like, hey, what are you involved in? Oh, I have this thing that I'd love for you to be a part of. So I really thank you for just taking the time out of your schedule to have that conversation with me and allow me to have this platform to speak to everybody. And thank you to everybody that tuned in or will eventually watch this live. I hope you can take a little piece of it and a little spark of motivation or inspiration comes from it. And if anybody does feel inspired, I'm sure me and MossBurgh would love to hear about it, love to hear about your journey or how we inspired you. So just thank you guys for tuning in. And it really is special to be able to share some of my story with you.
Oh yes, for sure. And if anyone don't know, all the channels that you see along the bottom, WTP Sports Dudes is WTP for Life, Level Up Sports 10, myself, got Parlay Poe of Blitzburg, have FanDuel Zay, and we have Post Game 86. These are all guys within this podcast. Feel free to reach out to any of us as well as myself, and we will be glad and able to come out and bring you on as well for any kind of talk, any conversation, even if it's just a little advice, especially on those sports sides as well. And for me, I'm just, like I said, I'm overflowed with joy being able to have you here today. And I appreciate everyone else tuning in the comments, Official Doe, as I said before, Post Game, and all those others across the world as well. And if you haven't watched, I'm sure you'll hear this. Tune in to this episode. It is very much worth every bit of the watch from start to finish. And again, I greatly appreciate you. And likewise, with taking the time out to just those few words back and forth meant so much, and it brought us here. So as we do for Level Up Sports 10, WTP Sports Dudes, we hit them with the peace sign, Jazz. We always tell them peace before we go.
Peace, y'all.
And as we say, peace. Another episode will be coming up to you. Until then, y'all have a blessed day. And Level Up Sports 10, MossBurgh and Jasmine, we are out for this afternoon. Have a great day.